Hello, beautiful and exotic women of the world. Today I want to discuss how to be a classic woman in a copy-paste world, society, community. I think as beautiful women, a lot of times people are following us and we have been leaders. We are natural born leaders. A lot of times when you have been put in the limelight and you didn't really ask for it, but people are kind of putting you there because of how they perceive you and how you show up externally, you kind of take on that responsibility of being a leader, even if you didn't ask for it. And so I want to kind of break down to you guys the ways that we can continue to be classic, authentic, original, when there are a lot of things going on that want to force us to be monotonous. There's a lot of things in society that pressure all people, but especially women, into kind of falling in line. And I don't know about you guys, but I've never been that type of girl. I've never been the type of girl to just fall in line. I've always stood out. I've always been different. I've always been unique. And I think when I was younger, I kind of ran from that because it's painful, right? Kids are mean. And when you're different and you stand out and you're trying to be yourself, you're not trying to be anyone else, people give you a hard time for that. And I think we can all relate to that, even as adults, right? Even as adults, we have to deal with people trying to stomp the light out of us emotionally and psychologically because we're being who we are. I think people kind of despise authenticity, especially when they're moving from a place of wounding, they're moving from a place of insecurity, because that's really what it is. They hate to see someone living their authentic, true lives. It makes them uncomfortable because they spent their whole life waiting for someone else to tell them what the trends are, waiting for someone else to tell them what shoes to buy or what school to go to or what career path to choose. Why are we not taught to think for ourselves? Why are we not taught to pedestalize individuality? And why are we subconsciously taught through society, media, familial relationships, friendships, that individuality and authenticity is a bad thing? I think it has been ingrained in some of us, and unfortunately some people have fallen for the okie doke and have lost sense of their true self, but we're here to rekindle that. So the first step to being a classic woman in a copy-paste society is to develop a sense of self. Developing a sense of self can be hard if you came from a family that did not support individuality or authenticity. If you come from a family where your family kind of wanted you to be this cookie cutter person where you fit into their ideas of what your life should be, and you were kind of discouraged from creating your own mindset, creating your own thought process, creating your own likes and dislikes, creating your own personality, this is going to be very hard for you. On the flip side, if you came from a family where, individuality was encouraged, this may not be as hard because you can go out into the world and kind of use the tools that were given to you to continue to cultivate who you are. So this is for the ladies who may struggle with that aspect of not knowing who they truly are. Maybe it was stomped out of you from a young age, or maybe no one nurtured you getting to know who you are. Really take time to learn you. Ladies, I want to encourage you guys to do that because as beautiful, exotic women, like I say all the time, you are at the forefront. You are at the epicenter of everyone's thoughts. You are at the forefront of everyone's judgment and criticism. And we have to stay 10 toes down because who wants to be operating in a world where other people can tell you about you? You need to be able to know who you are so that no one can come into your life, man, female, dog, cat, bird, and try to tell you who you are. You need to know who you are so that no one can swindle you, no one can make you feel bad about yourself and try to make you believe something about yourself that isn't true because you are operating in your authentic self, so you know who you are, and I've fallen victim to this too. When I was a young girl, not knowing who I was yet, I would take on the beliefs and the criticisms of people, and I used to think that that's who I was because clearly they're experiencing me that in that way, so maybe that is who I am. Maybe I am this, maybe I am that. But the dangerous part about this is there are people out there who really just don't like you because they're insecure or they're jealous, and you cannot take on other people's feelings about you because you don't know what their intentions are. Some people's intentions in giving you criticism or judgment comes from a place of them feeling inadequate and them feeling uncomfortable or threatened by you. So their criticism or their judgment isn't constructive, it's not helpful, it's not kind. It's coming from a place of, I'm trying to destroy you, I'm trying to knock you off of your pedestal, I'm trying to get you to see yourself in a negative light so that you don't continue to make me feel feel uncomfortable and threatened. You see how that doesn't work? So if you know who you are through and through and you're operating in your authentic self, who could tell you what? Who could tell you what, ladies? People would actually fear you more when you are standing in your authenticity. And call it what you want, but I feel like when people fear you, they respect you. Whether they want to admit it or not, if people are afraid to speak to you crazy, or if they're afraid to, put their mouth on you in negative ways, that's because they are afraid of crossing a line with you. And to some degree, that shows respect, because they respect you enough to not disrespect you. So I think that is one of the first and major things that you have to get into when you're trying to cultivate who you are and you're trying to be a classic individualistic woman, is to really get unapologetic about who you are and learn that down to its core. The next thing you want to do is reject the pack mentality. Reject it, cancel it, denounce it, because there's nothing productive, there's nothing lucrative about moving in a pack, thinking like the pack, doing things with the pack and the pack only, okay? We see this happen a lot with friendship groups, large friendship groups. You could be the girl who is very outgoing, unique, very avant-garde, you're different, you dress different, you are into different types of music, you like going places that a lot of people don't go. Whatever makes you, that's different from the masses. If you're in a friend group that's not unique and different like you, and if you're in a friend group that's not nurturing those aspects of your personality, you're going to feel like you have to fall in line with the average personality of the group, which could be the ringleader's personality. So the ringleader is usually the person who can bring a lot of people together, because it's easy for them to shapeshift into whoever they need to be when they're around certain people. So usually once that person is able to herd a bunch of their followers together, usually these people will begin to praise and look up to this ringleader, and they want to be like the ringleader. So if the ringleader is bitchy and she likes to gossip and she likes to wear pink on Wednesdays, like Regina George, everyone's going to fall in line with wearing pink on Wednesday, being bitchy and gossiping. And let's say you're the girl who doesn't like wearing pink. Maybe you're a alt-fashion girly, alternative fashion girly. Maybe you are into different types of music. You're not mean. You're not a mean girl. You don't feel like that needs to be a part of your personality in order for you to be who you are. You're not going to fit in. And so don't hurt yourself by trying to fit into places that don't suit you. Don't try to squeeze yourself into that pair of shoes if it's not fitting, okay? Exit stage left. It's okay to not be in a pack. It's okay to not feel like you have to fall in line with the group. Even at work, there are unspoken cliques and unspoken packs that are created because people have similar interests, or they think and operate the same. And maybe you're the girl who just goes to your job and gets your work done and goes home. You're not at the workplace to gossip, talk shit, tell everyone your business, and have diarrhea of the mouth, right? Like a lot of people want you to do. So because you don't want to engage in those types of activities, you're going to be isolated, and you're going to be labeled as the weird one and as the uncompromising one, the unteachable and uncoachable one. You have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with these worldly labels that people place on you, because that has nothing to do with who you are. You're being classic, you're being your authentic self, and they can't relate. They could never. They couldn't walk a day in your shoes being who you are, because if they could, they would. Instead, they find it safe. They take the safe route and move in packs and move with a pack mentality because that's what they believe is the only way to survive. Meanwhile, you get your strength from source, from God. So immediately, butting heads can't relate. And finally, the last step would be to destroy any mental strongholds that you have from maybe childhood or from early adulthood, where you told yourself certain things that were damaging to your mental health. So a lot of times when we go through things and we're unaware that we're actually the ones that are in control, we actually are the ones who cultivate who we are. We, again, let other outside sources tell us who we are. And you can kind of harbor those things and make it a part of your personality. Whole time that's never who you were. Whole time that is so far from the person who you were made to be. If you can really unpack the mental garbage that you've been telling yourself on a day-to-day and catch yourself in those moments and rebuke it, you will begin to see a change in how you're showing up and how you feel about yourself. I've practiced this as well in my self-love and self-care journey of making sure I check those moments where I'm having negative self-talk, where I am reinforcing things in my mind that people have told me about myself that I subconsciously believed. You have to learn how to check yourself in those moments and say, this thought is not mine, I rebuke it. Because that is the only way you're going to get healthier mentally, to believe and know that your authenticity and your originality is not a handicap. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of. And you'll learn that as you begin to dismantle some of the mindsets and self-talk that you've harbored. And once you can attack that, I feel that life gets better. It opens up for you because you're not a prisoner to other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions toward you. A lot of times we can shrink ourselves down and we become a shell of ourselves, and then we have this representative version of us operating at the forefront, and that's who everyone gets to interact with. But they don't know that there's a person inside of you who wants to be completely different from what your representative is portraying, right? So it's time for us to start being aware of these things, combating them, taking little steps each day to just be more mindful about it and begin to cultivate who we naturally and truly are as beautiful and exotic women. So ladies, drop down in the comment section. Please let me know your thoughts. I'll also be leaving my email in the description box so you can share any stories that you have with me there as well. Have a lovely day, ladies.